Did you watch the State of the Union?
No.
Yeah. Half the room stood up most of the time, and the other half sat still.
Mm-hmm.
70 Democrats were not present. They didn't even show up. And I have a question for you. If you had a job and you were required to show up
Mm-hmm.
and to participate in things, and let's say you didn't, right? How long would you keep your job?
Not. I wouldn't be there the next day, probably.
Yeah, we vote those people in to do their jobs, right? And if you're not showing up to things you're supposed to show up for, what are we doing, right? Why are we voting for you?
I don't know, man.
That's the warning for all you politicians. Show up, right?
But it's
Participate.
bold and brave to not be there for the
It's-
system.
It's
Ah.
not. It's really not. So the latest thing I want to talk about is something I learned from the Ninjas Are Butterflies podcast, right? About a dude named Paul Benowitz. It made me mad when I heard this story. And I pulled some things to talk about this, and then we'll jump into like the sermon review, things like
Okay.
we typically normally do. If you want to know about aliens and deception and gaslighting people, welcome to the show.
You're listening to a local church podcast hosted by my dad, Pastor Ryan Markham. Be sure to leave a review and share this resource. Love God, love people, make disciples.
All right, so New Mexico, late 1970s. Desert, right? It's quiet. It's old feeling. You ever been to New Mexico, Arizona, that kind of area?
No.
Yeah, it's super cool and weird all at the same time. It's like you're on another planet, but you know you're in the Wild West, right? It's just
Interesting.
crazy.
Yeah, the
It's
furthest west I've ever been is like Mississippi. No, sorry, Missouri.
outside of Albuquerque, there were some things going on, right? You had radar dishes, you had jets in the night, right? All kinds of things moving in the air, signals, lights blinking, all this other stuff. It's near the edge of the Kirtland Air Force Base. A guy named Paul Benowitz is watching the sky, right?
Mhm.
He's former military Coast Guard. He has a lot of equipment. He has his own business, right? He does a lot of things with electronics, video, audio, stuff like that. And he's now in the dark outside of this base, Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can see all the stars, right? And he stumbles on something and he uncovers what he thinks is real, right? Something that he thinks is real. And he is then manipulated, I would say is the word I'm looking for a big chunk of his life, right? What say you just knowing just that blurb? Now, you saw the video before, right? But just that little blurb, what's in your head right now?
Man, knowing or hearing the word manipulated makes me.
We say gaslit now. I guess
Yeah,
the kids say
yeah.
gaslit now. But
It's bad. It's just
Yeah.
bad. It's wrong. I think I would leave it there. It's just wrong. If you're manipulating somebody for any kind of gain or for any sort of deceptive reason,
yeah.
wrong.
Let me tell you who did the gaslighting and manipulating. Right? That's the harder part for me when I heard this story. I just heard like a snippet. There's a lot more information here, but it made me irate, right?
Mhm.
When I heard this, Paul Benowitz is not like this weird drug induced, loner kind of guy, right?
You said he was military,
Yeah,
right?
he was former military. He's a veteran, right? And he's out in the desert. He's doing his thing, right? He's an engineer type kind of mind.
Mhm.
He founded the Thunder Scientific Corporation. He had government contracts before. He was a true patriot to the United States, right?
Mhm.
He was a guy that wanted to serve his country, right? He was overlooking kind of the direction of the Kirtland Air Force Base. Again, this is the late 1970s, so the technology was kind of there for video and audio
Yeah.
and things like that. And he noticed strange lights in the sky, right? And they weren't like normal red light, green light
Yeah.
airplane kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. They were just different, right? And it moved erratically, kind of like what we've seen the drones and stuff like that here recently. And like Pilots have said, hey, I've seen these things, and
Yeah.
they can turn 90 degrees really fast, all that stuff. He was seeing similar things. It was hovering. It wasn't flying. It hovered, right? It changed direction sharply. And as an engineer, what is he thinking? What's he wanting to do with all this, right? He wants to try to build stuff like that. He wants to record it, obviously. He wants to intercept transmissions.
Yeah, figure
if
it
he
out.
can,
Yeah,
studying frequencies that just the engineer brain. He wants to know what's happening. And he's somewhat convinced that this is not United States technology, right?
Well, in the 70s, that's not something anybody would have ever seen.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is different, right? And what would you do if you saw this, right? Would you run to social media? Like, there wasn't social media in the 70s, but would you run to the tabloids, right? Would you run to like
Yeah, I'm going to like
a
the
movie
town
set?
square type
Yeah,
of deal.
be like, hey, something. Well, this dude's a patriot, right? He is a veteran, and he's like, look, I'm onto something, and I've got to go tell somebody. So he went to the Air Force Base, and he handed over tons of data, right?
Mhm.
Sound, video, paper that he's been, calculating things on, right? All the engineer things, all the footage, all the radio transmissions. And what would you think the government did with this material? You know the story, but just if you
Right.
didn't,
No, but in my head, I would think, okay, they're going to take it, they're going to figure out what's going on, and then we're going to hear about how they've resolved this problem or figure out who it is, what it is, and then report back.
yeah. So instead of taking this material and saying, "Hey, thanks for your job, good job, veteran, good job, patriot," right, that kind of thing, they were like, "Yeah, let's look into it together," right, with him.
Sounds good on paper, though.
Have you heard the name Richard Doty?
I've heard the name.
He's attached somehow. He is an agent of the Air Force Special Investigations Department, right? The AFOSI. And according to different accounts, Doty and others realized something with Benowitz's material. They found out that he was actually monitoring classified military technology tests, right?
Gotcha.
They found this out. Stealth type stuff, right?
Mhm.
The stuff we see, the B-2, the bombers, the B-52 bomber, all those stealth aircraft that we have now, they were testing back then, right? Electronic warfare stuff, counter operations kind of equipment, all kinds of stuff. It was the height of the Cold War, right? The 60s,
Yeah.
70s, 80s. And everything was supposed to be a secret. And instead of telling him, hey, you're filming military technology, they made a completely different decision. And they leaned in to his suspicion that this was alien. And instead of saying, hey, stop filming government stuff, they fed into this conspiracy, or they fed into the what if stuff going off in this guy's brain.
Yeah.
And they psyoped him and gaslit him
Manipulated.
over and over and over and over again, right? Because they didn't want people to know what was actually happening, so they were like, hey, let's go to this conspiracy, aliens, and feed it to him.
Yeah, because this is, 20 years after Roswell?
Yeah.
So
Ish.
things have probably been going
More,
on.
yeah.
People are chattering.
People are already questioning, what's going on in the
Yeah.
desert, right? That kind of stuff. So just imagine this. You're Paul Benowitz, right?
Okay.
You believe you've detected alien transmission. The government officials quietly confirm you're onto something, right? They hand you documents.
I now feel like I'm special.
They give you photographs. They tell you stories about underground bases beneath the desert. They fly you over the desert with something they've concocted as a alien crash site,
Mm-hmm.
and say underneath there's more things going on. They suggest that there is extraterrestrials out there. They suggest there's secret treaties between aliens and human government. What would you think? This is the United States government who you're
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to trust, who
Which-
you served.
I'm Paul in this situation. I have
Yeah.
no reason to not trust them.
Exactly.
They've brought me in. They're like, oh, this guy recorded it. No, I recorded it. Like, I'm in on this.
I don't know what his rank was in the Coast Guard, but they're probably like adding that rank to his name. Like, hey,
Yeah.
rank Benowitz, we need you on our team, right? And
Yeah.
here's some stuff we found out. Now, there's a couple things. One, why would the government ever tell me anything about aliens
Right.
and tell me top secret stuff and show me top secret stuff in the first place?
Well, I guess
now, he was connected. He had military contracts with
Yeah.
his business. He's an engineer mind.
Well, there's
He's a
that,
thinker.
but also like in my Paul mind, I'm saying, okay, I've shown them the proof that I have of alien things happening.
Yeah.
They're gonna trust me. They know that I've seen it. Why would they lie to me now?
Exactly. I mean, it's this could be a movie, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
could
yeah.
be in the movie. All right. So now here's the thing.
I'm curious if this guy had a wife, by the way, wife and kids.
I don't know that part, right? I don't know that part. But his whole worldview now shifts to aliens,
Yeah.
right? The lights were not experiments; they were aliens now in his head. Like, oh, I found it, and I discovered this, right? And
Yeah.
the government is confirming what I've discovered, right? That's that kind of thing. That's like the conspiracy theorists right now that's saying Bigfoot's real, and then the government saying, oh yeah, Bigfoot's real.
Dude, if the government came
You know
to
what
me
I'm
and
saying?
said Bigfoot's real,
Your whole world
Listen.
would change.
no, it wouldn't.
But-
I'd be going all in.
Exactly, and like your whole world would change.
Yeah, I guess
all
in
your
that-
money, all your
yeah,
effort, all your time, all your thinking would go towards like, I did it, I'm right, and the government's confirming that I'm right, and all this stuff.
I'd be on this podcast blasting it.
So here's the thing.
Dude, Trump just came to me and said that Bigfoot. He's in Kentucky. They're
Yeah.
tracking him. We need you to get some traps set up.
So he's now thinking, hey, there's real aliens, there's real alien spacecraft that we have, right? That he saw. The signals that he's kind of getting with radio transmissions, they're encrypted military chatter between aliens and our government. It is all, but it's all bonkers. The more you read about this stuff,
And it's all just baloney too, right?
it's all fake. Like
Oh gosh.
the military was like, we don't want people to know what we're testing, so let's feed this conspiracy of aliens to get it off our to get the scent off the trail, right? Whatever. And they manipulate this dude for years, right? That's what's crazy. That's what makes me upset. But again, he's not the only one this probably happened to. It's probably been
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
since the foundation of the CIA or even the military complex, that kind of thing.
How do you spell this guy's name? It's Paul what? Benowitz?
Benowitz, Benowitz. Now, the coincidence of him filming this stuff at night and then being reinforced by the government, right? It only fuels his belief that there are aliens and there are things that are going on, treaties, all kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many researchers would later describe this as a psyop, right? Psychological operation. If you go on, I don't know, if you go to a middle school, right, you're going to hear the word psyop, and you're going to hear the word op, like an operative. That kind of- you're going to hear that slang, as in like someone who is working for administration, like the principals or something. Like, oh, he's an op, right? He's planted, right? He's a psyop.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we get this stuff? It's because we actually do it, right? So the CIA's been doing it. Like we do psyop. Other countries have done psyop. China has done a major psyop on our country. Russia, through social media, has done the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's out there and it does. But this is the 70s, right? There's no reason to believe the government would lie to me and things like that. Like that's what's crazy about this story. But not only did the government show him things, they fed him information, and then he goes public about aliens, right? And he goes to these alien groups and these conspiracy groups and all these things with the information that he's been getting from the government, right? And so by then, they're too far deep in with this psyop, with this dude, to say, no, it's a false. So they kept going. Right? They just kept feeding this this story. It's insane that the government would do this, or that they have the ability to do this, or that they would want to do this.
I don't think they have the ability to do that anymore because of how far advanced technology is now.
Yeah, let's just pause.
Cameras.
Whoa, let's just pause. The idea that they wouldn't do it, or they couldn't get away with it anymore.
I think they will try, and I think they have tried. I don't think they can get away with it as well.
Well, I think there's so much information out there right now. We don't know what's real and what's not real.
True.
Right? We have all the information at our fingertips, right? So
Yeah.
in theory, we should be smarter than being dubbed by the government, right?
Yeah.
However, a lot of the things that we see, we don't know if it's real.
Because of AI.
Who is running AI, right? Who's running it?
I don't know.
X is running Grok, right?
Elon Musk.
Google is running Gemini. There's more. I can't think of.
But Google is probably paid off by somebody else.
Well, now the military has these AI, the same AI platforms, but filtered through a military lens.
Mm-hmm.
So now soldiers can go on to certain links, .gov links, right? They have to have an ID card and all that good stuff to get there. They can use AI that's filtered through a military lens. And so whoever's running the show, whatever AI you're using, that's what you're being manipulated with, right?
Mhm.
And so you can say, hey, AI, which we did earlier, are
Mhm.
aliens real? Yes or no? Yes, right? They would say, this one says yes, right? Or that one says no. Or this one says no, maybe, right? Who's to know what's real, right? That kind of thing. And the fact that we don't know if they could get away with it is a psyop in itself.
Yeah.
Because now we're double thinking, right? We're double guessing, second guessing. Sorry, I don't know what I'm thinking. We're second guessing what we know to be true, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing that happened in the garden. We talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Right? The serpent goes to Eve with the truth that she knows. God said, don't do that. And then he says, he doesn't manipulate her, right?
He just asked a question.
He just asked a simple question to get her to second guess what she heard.
Yeah.
This could be the same. It's really close, right? Now, I'm not saying the government's Satan and all that good stuff. That's not what I'm saying, right? But I'm saying the psyop is real. And I think social media, I think the stuff we see in commercials, right? I think we see the division, the Democrat or Republican. I think it's gotten so polarized that in and of itself is a psyop to whoever's trying to be on one side or the other, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would say, hey, believer, don't be on either of the side, right? Be a Jesus side.
Ooh, yeah.
And follow Jesus. You don't have to be a Republican to be Christian. You don't have to be Democrat to be anti-Christian, right? You can be a Jesus follower and ignore both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And you can vote accordingly to your convictions, things like that. All right. So back to Paul Benowitz. Here's where the collapse happens, right? The psyop is so real that there's a cost to Paul Benowitz, right? He got in so deep and he was fed so much information and he went on tour and he went on all these things and he did interviews and the government kept feeding him things to get him to go down this road. I think the Ninjas Are Butterfly podcast guy says that the government even started killing cattle around his
the cattle
town.
Mutilation, yeah.
And he was like, oh, this is connected. And they connected the dots. And he got so paranoid, he thought aliens were going to attack him or invade, right, the globe.
Yeah.
Right? I would say that's how fragile our brain is, right? One. But the government knowingly doing this to an individual, it almost gives like a light bulb to like the MK Ultra stuff, right? What was the thing? It was at Harvard University that did some kind of psyop or psychological thing on their own students, where they'd bring 10 in, like half the group would be police, half the group would be inmates.
I don't know if it was Harvard, but I know exactly.
And they
what
just kind of let it go and let it happen.
Yeah.
There's movies about it, I think.
Yeah.
That's how fragile our brain is. One.
It's the same for the Unabomber, I think, or is it
Kaczynski? That's Ted
Yeah.
Kaczynski.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. At a young age, the government took him from his parents and then like isolated him and just basically tried to figure out what would happen if somebody was given no human contact at a very early
You think
stage
he was
in life.
MK Ultra?
No, it was definitely CIA.
Or something like that program?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's
Nice.
documented that it's
Gosh.
happened. It's just everything is horrible.
So he believed aliens were going to infiltrate society. So they even said, hey, certain religious leaders are alien plants.
Yeah.
And he started to believe that, and he started to share that with other people, like with religious figures. I don't know who the religious figures are.
Are you an alien?
No. He thought there was this secret war that was going to happen underground.
Mm-hmm.
He thought the government was partially cooperating with aliens to stave off some kind of war,
Yeah.
kind of thing with treaties. Things like that. He wrote letters to senators. He contacted law enforcement. He warned of invading scenarios of aliens publicly, right? His family Oh, I guess so. So he did have family. His family kind of watched him unravel slowly over time. And then by the mid 80s, so this started in the 70s, by the mid 80s, his mental health declined so much that he had to be admitted to a psychiatric treatment program.
So like roughly 10 to 15 years of all this.
And the government knew about it.
The whole time.
That's what's crazy to me, man.
I did look up his family. His wife stayed with him the whole time.
Nice.
And
He
she
d-
yeah,
so
she
he
passed
d-
away in like 2016.
He didn't die in the mental institution, right? He came out
Yeah.
of it. He was a once respected engineer. He had his own business. He had government contracts. And then he became known as this wacky UFO conspiracy theorist. I want to pause here. I want to kind of totally change directions. Remember Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
He got so popular, right? Michael Jackson is the king of pop. I will admit, he's the king of pop. He's awesome. But his I don't know, his fame, I guess, the money, he had psychological issues.
Yeah.
However, he went down a road of like going after his producers and things like that, and in saying being mistreated, being used, all these good things. You can hear it in some of the music. And then from once he tried to take a stand for his own career, then you started hearing the term wacko jacko, right? And pedophilia and Macaulay Culkin,
Huh.
and he was touching kids, and it went nuts towards Michael Jackson. Now you go back and look, he was not the one that was wacky, right? It was the producers and things that around him that were actually doing all those things, connected to Jeffrey Epstein and things like that.
Oh, really? I
Like,
didn't know that.
A lot of it. And now you look back and like, oh, he was trying to stand up for the truth, and the whole system turned on him, right? That kind of thing. This guy thinks he saw aliens, and instead of the government saying, hey, it was our technology, stop,
Yeah.
don't do anything else, or you're going to jail.
Which would have been way easier.
Yeah. They fueled this thing, and they turned him into be this wacky conspiracy alien kind of guy, right? They did that to him. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
That is what's crazy. His credibility was destroyed, right? His reputation was destroyed. And all the while, the whole narrative was being fed to him by the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who. Now, I'm not blaming the government. I'm still part of the military system, so I can't say, one way or the other, or yada, yada. I don't know. I just don't know all those facts, right?
I mean, we could probably find out who the director of the CIA was at the time.
Well, this was the special operations for the Air Force, right? Whatever that
okay,
was.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even think that exists anymore now. Whatever entity that was, a single psyop didn't just affect him, though, right? It affected a whole alien community, right?
Yeah.
His family, his community, right? The nation about aliens. This is where they think the whole alien kind of stuff took off, was the 70s and 80s.
So crazy, dude.
From this dude. And it was all, instead of just saying, hey, you've stumbled upon some military technology, cease and desist, or you're going to prison forever, they were like, let's use it. Let's feed this guy some alien
I would
junk.
love to see what he was filming. Like, what is it that they were like, hey, you filmed some stuff.
So
Let's just
yeah.
gaslight you instead of just being like, hey, man, don't do that. Stop.
So what's believed that he saw was the beginning of like drone technology, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Stuff that could stop, hover, and kind of change direction that we see drones do all the time now,
Yeah.
right? Things like that. That's kind of what they think he was filming, and that's what they saw, and they were like, hey, okay, it's UFO. Now, I want to pause here for a second. It's not just a UFO story, right? This isn't just about like UFOs and aliens and all that good stuff. It's about what's true and what's not true, right?
Yeah.
He believed he saw aliens. It was a false truth. It was false. The false truth is an oxymoron, right? And yet the government fed into this lie,
Yeah.
this falseness, and helped him. Helped is the wrong word. Fueled his belief that aliens are real, that he was actually a part of something bigger than what he actually was, right? Scripture tells us and warns us that deception is a powerful thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a really bad thing. John 8:44. He calls the devil the father of lies, right? If you're following along into John's series that we're doing, what happens when human institutions begin using deception?
Trust falls apart.
That's it, right? The Benowitz thing was he believed in aliens after
Mhm.
this stuff. There was no truth to this reality.
No.
The institution was creating things. There's even a part of this. I didn't tell you this. That was on the podcast. They believe that the Disney Imagineers, imagine the ones who create all these crazy things, helped the government entity build alien crash
What?
site that he flew over. That's a
That's
conspiracy. That's
crazy.
another part of this thing, right? That they
Where
were.
did that conspiracy
it
theory
got so
start,
deep.
though?
Well, you got to pause there. Remember the von Braun dude, the
Yeah.
Nazi scientist?
Yeah, Werner von Braun. Yeah.
We brought him over and started
Operation
working for
Paperclip.
us, right? If we did that with a Nazi and said, "Oh, you're good. We'll sweep it under the rug. You just help us build some rockets."
Do you know what he did?
Yeah. What else are we doing?
Yeah,
what
who
else
knows?
is there? You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude should have been tried for
Executed.
war crimes.
Yeah.
And instead of that, we're like, oh,
Let's use him.
he's pretty smart, smarter than us. Let's bring him over and hire him. You got any more dirt on that dude? You had some more dirt. I saw it in your eyes.
Oh, I was just asking if you knew what he did for the Nazis.
He did a lot of things, but a lot of their scientists were looking at portals and energy, and
So-
they're trying to manipulate time and space, like the things you see in the Marvel movies,
Yeah.
right? They're trying to do all that kind of thing.
The
What
thi-
what are you really?
The
Pointing-
thing that I was going to say that I learned about was that he was like, so whoever was the slowest scientist who didn't
Sure.
get their stuff in quickest, whatever it
Yeah.
was, he would publicly hang them like in the labs and be like, "This will be you if you're not fast enough."
Nice.
Like that's the kind of stuff that this dude did.
They were trying to dabble in like the occult type stuff too, right?
Yeah,
The,
like the Nazi bell, the Wunderwaffe.
yeah. That I mean, they were trying to do some really crazy stuff, and instead of the government saying, "Hey, no, you're a war criminal, we're going to hire you,"
Mhm.
right? And so, what else are they doing? Well, all the deception stuff, right? That's what's I want to kind of pause there just for look at a spiritual lens for the deception part of this, right? So this guy, Paul Benowitz, he actually believed that there were aliens, but the tragedy wasn't that he believed there were aliens, right? What was the tragedy?
He was lied to.
Yeah, the authority figures that he looked up to, that he served, right, in the military, manipulated his perception of reality,
Yeah.
right? That was the tragedy.
So much though, so that he lost his mind.
Yeah, I lost his marbles. When you push someone to lose reality, look, think about social media things and young girls and boys, right? In
Mhm.
their middle school, high school, that puberty period, right? Where
Yeah.
they just don't know what's going on. They want to fit in, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are bad people who manipulate them online to do dumb things and then try to convince them that unless they do more dumb things, they're going to out them and show all the stuff and yada yada. And a lot of our young kids go down a suicide route or
Mhm.
drug route or all kinds of like cutting, self-harm because they're being manipulated and they don't know reality, right? They don't know up from down or truth from false. It's the same thing that's going on with social media. Social media is ruining reality, I think.
Yeah.
If you look at young girls who are just all the get ready with me videos, the GRWM videos, right? Or the weird,
ASMR.
yeah, all that stuff. That's not reality. Nobody wants to hear you tap on your drink, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to watch you get ready. Like nobody cares about you getting ready. However, the influencers that we have and all the people that follow them are doing these things because it's reshaping reality, right?
Mhm.
It's influencing you to do something, to buy something, right? To think something. That's what's crazy. It's not just the government, right? Now, can the government be using social media?
Sure.
Sure, right? I mean, we did it with commercials, right? We
they
do it
did
with
it-
commercials all the time. We do it with big news.
The FBI was
corporations.
connected to Facebook back in the COVID era.
Yeah. I mean, even big news is telling you a story that they want you to
Yeah.
hear to get you to think, vote, act a certain way.
Right.
The manipulation part, the perception of reality, I think that's what not scares me, but
Upsets.
it upsets. But like the person that's not thinking about that bigger picture is just going along with the flow, right?
Mm.
Most of the youth that we have, high school, middle school, that have phones are so glued to their technology, that phone or social media or whatever it is they're connected to on that phone. If you take that phone away from them, they don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
It is deathly scary to them without having technology in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
You can destabilize someone's heart, right, or brain by messing with their reality.
Yeah.
Or by getting them to think something is real when it's really not real, right? Social media, it's all filtered, right? You don't see the imperfect pictures or the imperfect videos. You see 30 seconds of perfection, and that's what reality should be like.
Yeah.
I should always be on vacation. I should always have the most expensive things. I should always be eating at the most expensive restaurants. I should always be the best looking I can be. I should, all the things, right? I should be driving this kind of car. I should be wearing this kind of clothes. Like, it's all there to manipulate what you think reality should or shouldn't be. When in reality, most of those people are sad and, depressed half the time. But if they give you a 30-second clip, they can get you to spend money.
Yeah.
Right? That's what's crazy about all this social experiment with social media. But, sorry, go back to this guy. So back to this. I'm going off on a million rabbit holes. We live in a world where governments use disinformation. We saw that a lot in the 2020s, right? The 2016 election, kind of on COVID, all that good stuff. Media manipulates the narrative, and it spreads really fast. Back in the day, we talked to each other at the water fountain. It's no longer a water cooler. I can talk to someone in China right now about something that's going on,
Yeah.
right? And the narrative goes really fast around the world really quick. Just look at X. X is all about, conspiracies and narratives and things like that. The Benowitz story reminds us that deception, right, isn't like it's not the main tragedy. That's what I want to get to, right? Anybody can be deceived, right? We can deceive each other on Sunday. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, you deceived me.
But then
right?
behind the scenes,
Yeah.
I'm like doing terrible.
Deception may not be always Paul Benowitz either.
Yeah.
Right? It's the subtle things that Satan uses to get a church to divide, right? He said, she said, and now the whole church is split down the middle because of something silly, right? Or because of something dumb. It's not always on TV. It's not always on a podcast, right? Deception comes from a lot of different places. Yikes. But when it comes from a government, I think that's what really irks me a little bit. Because most people, I grew up thinking, I want to be an army guy, right? I want to serve and do all those things. And other people think about, I want to be this or I want to be that. There's no way the government would lie to me about, these things. But if you look at just the trends of just employment, or just look at the different counties. Every county has an ATC, right? An area technology center. Most of those counties are looking at trade type jobs, right? Because the government wants you to be a trade. They want you to do trade type positions because not everybody's going to be an engineer. Not everybody's going to be a whatever, right?
And technology isn't going to take those over.
Yeah. But different counties, different states have different tracks for trades, right? I mean, we're being manipulated to do this 9-to-5 thing to feed the beast, to feed the machine, to keep this big thing going, right? That kind of thing. And I'm not going to go any more down that road because that's just weird. But the aftermath. So years later, after he broke down, after he got out, he became a case that started all of the UFO lore, right? He was the godfather of the conspiracy of alien stuff. There was no redemptive arc. The government never came out and said, hey, we're sorry, right? They never came back to him and said,
Right.
hey, this is all a lie, right? I think that would make me more leery about just what is real and what's not real. Because if they never came out and said that, he's probably dealing with was it real? Was it not real? Was it real? Like forever, right? No public apology, no restoration of his reputation. So when he got out, he was a wacky dude that went nuts on alien conspiracies, and the government just kind of chuckled or whatever. And
They just tossed him aside.
They just kind of okay.
They're indifferent. Yeah.
Yeah, he died in 2003, and he was not remembered as a successful engineer or businessman. He was known as the man who chased aliens, right? That's his go-to thing. I think that's the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't die like no one's gonna, except for his wife, maybe his family. I don't know if he had kids or not.
I'll
I
find
mean,
out.
they'll remember him as dad, but they'll remember him as dad who chased aliens, right? She'll remember her husband as the guy who went nuts
Yeah.
about aliens. She's passed away too,
They
I
had
think.
3
since-
kids. Yeah, she passed away in 2016.
Yeah. I think that's worse, right? I don't want to be known as the guy who went crazy chasing aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot to that. So we live in a time where people believe nothing the government says, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll try to believe some of it. Oh, you're going to release Epstein files? Yeah, let's see it. And
Well,
then it never does.
That's the thing is like, we want to try to believe, but as soon as something is said or put out, it's immediately like, okay, is it real? Time to test it.
Hey, ChatGPT, is this real? Or hey, Grok, is this real?
Yeah.
Right? We don't think for ourselves hardly. And if we could, like, how are you going to research the Epstein files? You got to go to Google.
Right.
And what is Google going to share you? What Google wants you to see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a search engine? I'm sure there are that lets you see all of it. I mean,
Yeah, who knows?
besides going down the the dark web, the torrent type stuff, like, you're not going to search something that's not already been manipulated.
Right.
I mean, you're really not. Like, even using ChatGPT or Grok or any of the other AIs, they're using Google or those search engines that only want you to see what you're going to be able to see anyway. You're
Yeah.
not going to see what you're not supposed to see, right? You're not going to see something that's so unedited that you can get a clear picture of
Yeah.
what's happening.
Is this a call to march on DC?
No. you're just not, right? That kind of thing. Gone are the days where we go to the library and we search, microfiche
Yeah.
and see old newspaper articles. We're going to go to Google. We're going to go to what's the Microsoft
Chrome.
Chrome. You're going to go to
Firefox.
Firefox. There's another one, but you're going to go to those things because that's what's available on whatever device you buy.
Yeah.
Right. For Apple, it's Safari. Right.
Yeah.
You're only going to see what they want you to see. Period. All the search engines are manipulated, just like all the AI is manipulated. Yeah. So, never going to believe the government. Right. That's deception.
Mhm.
That's what foreign entities want us to do, is to not trust our government so that we break down from the inside out, right?
Mm.
Man, some people believe the media without even questioning it, right? Oh, it's a Republican media? Yes.
Got it.
Oh, it's a Democratic media? Yes, I believe it, right? And we spit those same lies, I'll say that. And we don't even care about the other person who's reading it. We just spit out this narrative, and it's troubling, right? That's
Right.
the deception part. That's what deception is. It's to get us to think a lie is reality, and then for us to push that reality, that narrative, wherever we can.
I think the reason it hurts to know that the government lies is because it's Jesus juke time. Romans 13 says that those powers were put in place by God,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to serve us, and they're supposed to watch out for our good and punish evil. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not what happens.
Yeah, but even the bad ones are in there because of the sovereign
Yeah.
God has put them there to do His will.
But it also says that if evil rulers are existing, it's because that's also a judgment of God.
Yeah, that's a big piece of that, right?
Yeah.
The government that we have in place, we voted for it.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, I'm a Republican. I didn't vote for Joe Biden. The lack thereof, you still voted,
Yeah.
right? That kind of thing. And Trump's in office, and they're like, I didn't vote for Trump. I'm a Democrat. The fact that you didn't show up and vote is you still voted,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are doing this to ourselves, right? Sinful hearts, deceitful hearts. The heart is deceptive.
Yeah.
Right? But it calls the local church, right? I want to pause here because this sounds like paranoia, right? This sounds like we're freaking out and we're wanting you to freak out. That's not at all what this is. This is an example of what has happened in the past, what can happen, and how Satan uses deception the same way today, right? He still
And then what is the truth?
yeah, he still pushes the "Did God say that?"
Yeah.
right? And he's using media and social media to get us not to think about the things of God and to think about the things of this world, so that we will divide, we will hate, we will do all kinds of dumb things to our neighbor. It's a mess, right?
Yeah.
And so we got to come back to reality. Scripture doesn't tell us to go around paranoid, right? Or even blind trust. It says how to discern the things around us is by knowing God's word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this good or is this wrong, right? And we can do that with the word of God. But we also need to do it with humility. I don't know all there is to know, right? You can ask me, you've asked me questions where I said, I don't know, right?
Right.
We don't have to have all the answers, and Google isn't your friend all the time, right? ChatGPT is not your friend all the time. My ChatGPT now is starting to give me Baptist Reform type answers,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it doesn't unless I make sure that's in the prompt, right? So you have to know that if you're using ChatGPT for things, you have to tell it how to think, and then it will spit out the answers that you need to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do that, you're going to get all kinds of random stuff. Yeah, so if you anchor yourself in the Word of God, you're not going to be manipulated easily. Now, will you be tossed in, to and from by Bigfoot conspiracies? Sometimes, right? However, you got to go back to reality. It's like, man, what is the most important thing that I can be doing with my time right now? Oh, it's loving God, loving people, making disciples. That's the most important thing, right? Not chasing after all these other things. Now, does God give us personalities and thinking and just the ability to do those things? Yes. Right? It's fun to look at some of those conspiracies. This one, however, is not fun to look at because
No.
it is an example
It's
of-
unfortunate.
of what can happen when you're being deceived, right? Or even when an entity is being deceptive. Fear is a weapon by Satan. We are not called to fear, right? We've been given power to be witnesses, right? Not scared and fearful, but we have the Word of God. We have the Spirit of God giving us the strength of God to be able to do that which He's called us to do,
Mhm.
right? Paul Benowitz, his mental stability broke, right? This deception broke him. You can be broken by social media and other things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You see people online that say, "Oh, I'm taking a social media break, and I'll be back on this date." Right? The fact that they have to post that they're taking a break is meaning they're being used or deceived by that which they're trying to take a break from.
Yeah.
Now, I've done it once where I said, "I'll see you next year," but I don't say why or anything like that. I just disappear for a month, and I'll come back in January 1st. I didn't do it this year, but I take breaks from it. But I don't announce like, "Hey, I'm taking a break."
Right.
Take a break from social media. Take a break from the big news media. If you're thinking more about things like conspiracies or the Epstein files, right, more than you are reading your Bible, you should probably take a break.
I think what you said whenever you came back from Peru is along these same lines where you were like, man, when I was over there, it was all about like what's going on right now, what am I doing, who am I talking to, am I sharing faith,
Yeah.
all that good stuff. I wasn't worried about Fox News or
Yeah.
X or whatever else. Like you don't have time to deal with any of that stuff. You're worried about like the next meal or water or these
Yeah.
people. You're caring for others rather than all this other stuff.
Yeah, I think the United States, we've yes, it's comfortable and we have a lot of stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'm not knocking the freedoms and things that we have. But in Peru, it was like I had no idea where I was. One, I was so high up in the mountains, it was crazy, it was awesome. But time was different because I didn't have everything in my face 24/7. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like I woke up, hey, we're going to go out to this village and we're going to share the gospel, we're going to give food, things like that. And I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And every day there's the same. It was like, we're going to go do this thing, we're going to go do this thing. And I wasn't inundated with all the junk that we have
Mhm.
here. So guard your heart, guard your mind, right? We do that with the Word of God. Yeah, anything, I mean, technology is going to advance, right? The government's going to keep secrets.
Yeah.
But we are not, I don't know what to say. We follow Jesus. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Don't be tossed, by the wind of conspiracies and even all like I hate government and all that good stuff. That's not the goal of this podcast. Or that's not the goal of this moment. This moment is like, hey, there are people that will actually try to deceive you. We know that, right? There's good people, there's bad people. But Jesus is always good, and He's not there to deceive you, right? He came to save that which is lost. So follow Him. All right, sermon review time, John 11. This is 28 through 44. We've been walking through John. Now, I'm trying to figure it out. Like, I didn't time it well because we're going to see the triumphal entry before the triumphal entry calendar date, right? We're going to see the resurrection before the actual resurrection, I think,
Mhm.
or it's going to be after. I think it's going to be after. So we don't really match up quite well. I don't know what we're going to do. We may stop
That's
and do
okay.
those things. But John 11, right? We're talking about Jesus and Lazarus Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha.
Mm-hmm.
And last week it was like, hey, Jesus, if you just be here, he wouldn't be dead, right? And then we had the same thing for Mary. They hear that Jesus is in town, he's coming, and so Mary runs out to Jesus and asks the same thing, or says the same thing that Martha did the week before, the passage before. But this is like the biggest moment in John's gospel, besides Jesus' resurrection, right? This is like the sign of all signs of like, after this sign, everything changes, right? And we're going to see that this Sunday with the plot to kill Jesus or to get rid of him because of this sign, right? Lazarus has been in the grave 4 days. It's significant. Now, I said it a bunch last week. I said it a few times this week. It's important that we note that it's 4 days, not 3 days, because 3 days, the spirit's still hanging around according to the rabbis. And if he's resuscitated or brought back to life in 3 days, it's all good. But not 4 days, right? The spirit's
Right.
already gone, right?
Right.
He's already gone. There's no way anybody can raise anybody from the dead on the fourth day. It wouldn't be resuscitation at that point. It would be bringing a dead person to life kind of moment, right? That kind of big deal. John MacArthur says this. This is the climactic sign in John's gospel, the miracle that seals the resolve of Christ's enemies and sets the cross in motion. This is not a private act of kindness. It is a public revelation of divine authority. Jesus has said over and over again, I am who I am. I am this, I am this, I am this. I and the Father are one, right? I am. And he keeps going, and they're like, tell us who you really are, right? It's like, I've showed you, and I've told you over and over again. And this is the last straw, right? Lazarus raising from the dead is the moment like, oh,
That's what you meant.
we got to get rid of this guy,
Yeah.
right? That kind of thing. Well, think about the disciples when Jesus calmed the waters, right? He walks on the waters, and then he calms the waters. And after those stories, it's like they were afraid. They were fearful. Like,
and their hearts were hardened
yeah,
too.
it's like they were afraid of the water, but now who is this guy, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And then at this point, they're still following Jesus, and they've heard his teachings, and now they're going to see him raise somebody from the dead. And it's like, it's not for them, it's for you guys. So you'll see God's glory, right? It's a really cool moment. R.C. Sproul says that Jesus isn't like reacting to the death of Lazarus. Like, it's not just a reaction, like, oh, my friend's died, I got to go do something. He delayed intentionally, right? Knowing that Lazarus is just asleep. Don't get confused there. He's dead. But the language that Jesus uses, he's just asleep. He does all this on purpose because he knows what's going to happen. He's not reacting. He's like, nope, this is the moment that the Father and the Holy Spirit and I had talked about before I even came to her. Like, this, I know this is coming, and it's for his glory.
Yeah.
Right? And the glory is going to be through Jesus. It's not CPR. This is full on, this dude is dead, and he resurrects from the grave.
Like bringing dry bones to life.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It's a big moment. Charles Spurgeon says this: the Lord of glory enters into the grief of his people, even as he prepares to conquer their greatest enemy, death, right? We see here both the sovereign authority of Christ and the tender compassion of Christ, because he weeps and then he also raises the dead, right? It's a really cool moment. Anything else with the introduction that we need to say before we get into the points?
No.
I only focused on 2 things, right? This time around, I think. Yeah, just 2 points. But there were multiple things under each point. And some of it, a lot of it, was not in my notes. And so let's get after it. The theme for John 11:28 through 44. In raising Lazarus, Jesus reveals himself as the divine Son who shares in our sorrow, yet sovereignly commands the grave, displaying God's glory and his authority over death. I put a whole lot in there because I couldn't simplify it. I could just say Jesus reveals himself as the Son of God, and he loves us, right?
Yeah.
But that's not enough. There's a lot in this passage, right? Previously, so Martha goes to Jesus in the last section and says, if you'd only been here, right, my brother wouldn't have died. And Jesus says, hey, if you believe in me, right, you'll see him he's going to be resurrected, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, I believe, the resurrection of the last days, that kind of thing. Theology, she believes. And then he says, no, I'm the resurrection and the life, right? If you believe in me, I am the resurrection and the life. That's the moment that we see play out here in this. He gets close. Mary comes out, and he said the same thing, teacher. If you had just been here, my brother would not have died. And he sees her weeping. He sees the Jews around her weeping, the mourners, right? And then he's deeply moved and he's greatly troubled. I paused here and I said, I wish we all read Greek and knew the Greek language.
I wish you would have said the word in Greek.
Well, no. The idea here is that the English language falls way short on what's actually happening in this passage. So I'm going to read this verse 33, and I want you to tell me what it means just by reading it, not by knowing anything else that you sat in the sermon. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled.
It just makes me think he was upset. He was sad.
Yeah. Just a quick reading is like, oh, he feels their brokenness.
Yeah.
He feels their weeping, right? Because in verse 35 it says Jesus wept. And so if you were connect the dots that way, you're like, oh, he's sad. Jesus is really sad. That's not what plays out. That's not what John's writing, right? The deeply moved. I'm not going to the word is embryomeomi. It's really hard to pronounce. And if you go to YouTube, you can look up Greek words and they'll tell you how to pronounce it. It doesn't just mean he's sad or sorrowful, right? The moved part is, it's for us like a sunset is moving, right? Or a symphony is moving, right? Or just a love letter from my wife. It's moving. It moves me, right? That kind of thing. The word that it means indignation, right? A deep agitation, anger. That's the word that is. Why didn't the English translators just write Jesus is angry in his spirit and greatly troubled? They could have wrote that, but they wrote moved because from the Greek, it sounds that way. But he's irate. He sees Martha, someone that he loves, and Mary, someone that he loves, and Lazarus dead, and he is now mad about what is happening. Why is he mad? Because his creation was never meant to experience the pain of death.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's there standing in front of his creation, the ones that he loves, experiencing this pain, this hurt, this tragedy, and he is irate. He's irate. He knew what happened in the garden, right? He knew that Satan tempted Eve, and she believed.
Mm-hmm.
She was deceived, right? And her reality shifted. Did God really say that? And she started to question everything. And then from that moment on, sin enters the world and death with it, right? And so now he's ticked off. He's ticked off because of what sin has brought, death, the curse of sin, death, right? The grave. He's super upset. Now, I didn't read this part, but I want to read it here. Death is the intruder to creation because of sin, right? Mm-hmm. And Jesus stands at this tomb not as a reactive observer or a passive observer. He is standing as creator, the divine warrior confronting the enemy. That's what he's doing here, right? I wish I had a picture of like this dude with a sword, like just standing in front of like a tomb. But like he is standing at the gates of hell saying, not today, right? I mean, he's so like, oh, it's like a mama bear protecting her cub when the cub gets smacked on the nose by a tourist, right? And mama bear comes out and is like, no, like you ain't
not happening.
Like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Irate, right? Jesus came to destroy the works of the devil, 1 John 3:8. And he also delivered those who are enslaved by the fear of death, Hebrews 2. The last enemy to be destroyed is death. We see death is going to be thrown into the lake of fire, right? At his resurrection, he has conquered both sin and death.
Mm-hmm.
Romans 5:12. Sin came into the world through one man, Adam, and death through sin. And so death spread to all men because all sinned. And what did Jesus come to do? Save that which is lost, right? He came to break his body and shed his blood for the forgiveness of sins, not to beat Rome, right? He didn't come to the cross to say, hey, I'm going to die on the cross so the system will be broken.
Yeah, because if that was the case, the system would have broke, and it
there would be
didn't.
no more systems, right?
Right.
Yeah, but not. So he's greatly moved, right? Anything with that before I move on to the greatly troubled part? So greatly troubled, right? This is a compound word. It's two words, right? Greatly troubled. It's the same word that is used in John 12:27 when Jesus says, "Now is my soul troubled," right? And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this purpose I have come to this hour. Like, he is. I don't want to use English words, right? He's troubled to his gut that there's what's about to take place, right?
Mhm.
It shows his humanity, that part of it. John 13:21, he's troubled in his spirit when he announces his betrayal. One of you will betray me, right? And he's troubled, right? It's troubling when one of his followers is about to betray the guy who he claimed loyalty to, right? But there's a warning there too. I think I forgot the name of the Shane Pruitt. Is that a guy on Facebook, a Christian youth kind of guy? He says Judas was with Jesus for 3 years and he wasn't a believer. He didn't truly follow Jesus. Yeah, he
Maybe.
did the things outwardly, but he wasn't a follower of Jesus. Think about the people in your church, right? That come every Sunday.
Yeah.
Just because they come every Sunday doesn't mean they follow Jesus, right? Doesn't mean they're really Christians.
Wasn't there a percentage put out maybe a few
I
years
don't
ago
know.
now that was like this average percentage of people in the church aren't true
Yeah,
believers?
I don't know. We could probably do a hand raise Sunday. And
Yeah.
be like, hey, are you really a Christian? Raise your hand, right? No.
Not gonna do that.
Um,
Maybe you should have them stand up like Trump did.
No, and this inner turmoil, right, this inner trouble, it's not like emotion that we see like AOC going to the border and taking a picture crying.
Right.
That's not what that is, right? This is showing us something about Jesus. It shows us that he is truly God, but he's also truly man, right? He sees, he feels, he weeps. Hebrews 4, the sympathetic priest, the high priest that we have, right? He's gone through every temptation. He sympathizes with our weaknesses. He knows everything about us, and yet he's without sin, that kind of thing. So we see his humanity part. Anything with that?
Let's see here. I'm assuming you stopped right before we were about to get to the hypostatic union.
Well, I haven't gotten that far yet,
Okay.
but it's also his deity, right?
Gotcha.
So we see his humanity and we see his deity. He came knowing that what he was going to do with Lazarus. He knew he was going to raise. That's why he delayed. And he declared it was for the glory of God. But who but God can raise the dead, right? Who but God can forgive sin
Yeah,
or
no one
reverse
that I know.
the curse of sin and death, right? Deuteronomy 32:39. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God besides me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal, and there is none that can deliver you out of my hand, right? He is God, right?
Mhm.
Fully God, fully man in there. And the hypostatic union is one person, two natures,
Yeah.
right? He is fully God and he is fully man. I think R.C. Sproul would say he is truly God and truly man. So there's no confusion, there's no division, there's no change, there's no separation between the two. He's not like God this day and man this day. It's the union is he is both God and man
Right.
as he's walking among us there. So why does this matter? One, only God can save, right?
Mhm.
If he's not God, he can't save you, right? Two, if he's not man, he didn't live the life that you and I were supposed to live, right? He didn't live sinless.
Yeah.
Right? If he's not man, then he wouldn't be tempted in the way we are. He wouldn't be able to save us on the cross,
Yeah,
right?
you couldn't sympathize with our own.
I mean,
shortcomings.
think about the Old Testament, right? We're going through Leviticus, and they had to sacrifice animals. Why did they have to keep doing it over and over and over again? Because an animal is not sufficient to
Right.
save a man, right? Man has to save man, and so who is the perfect man? Jesus, right? But he's also God because he can save, right? And so he must be both to be our Savior, fully God, fully man, and he is our mediator between God and us, right? That's point number one. Jesus is fully God and fully man. That's point number one. Anything else stand out to you that you wrote or jotted down?
Just something funny that said, "My mom can't stand up and say
Oh.
that's my boy. Let him in." Only Jesus.
I think I used like that's my boy.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
used a whole voice. It was pretty funny.
I don't know why.
But
I
no,
did that.
you hit every point that I had written down.
Yeah, and so this passage, yes, it's about the raising of Lazarus, but it's really not about the raising of Lazarus, right? That is the glory of God that Lazarus is raised. It is about Jesus being who he says he is.
Mhm.
He is fully God, and yet he's also fully man. The second point is he's sovereign over death. I mean, we've already seen that, right? But he's sovereign over the death of Lazarus, and he says, "Hey, like, take me to him. Where is he at? Take him to." They take him. There's this stone. Hey, roll the stone away. And he says in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" Right. So
Mhm.
this is key. This is the other verse. I could have just landed on just the unbinding part, right? Because a lot of our charismatic friends just focus on the unbind him and let him go. Right?
Yeah.
Take off your grave clothes, and there's this whole series about grave clothes, and you just need to take this step and take off those old clothes. It's like all self-help stuff, right? However, Jesus commanding Lazarus to come out. Lazarus does nothing to be resuscitated, right?
Yeah.
Or to be resurrected.
He didn't participate in this.
Yeah, and so this loud voice, right? It's authoritative. It's not a prayer. It's not like, "Oh, Lazarus, you just gotta do the right thing and come on out." It's not what it is. He's commanding in a loud voice, "Come out!" Right? Really big moment. I got loud at that moment. But this is an effectual calling, right? Now, this is where we get icky with what we see in Scripture and how we describe doctrine and
Mhm.
theology and all that good stuff. When God speaks, something happens, right? He even says, "My word never comes back void." Jesus, being God, when he speaks, something happens. He speaks, Lazarus come out, and what does Lazarus do?
He comes
He
out.
comes out, right? That kind of thing. Something happens. It's effectual calling, right? The effectual speech, it's part of regeneration. It's the same type of thing when God says, "Let there be light." When God speaks, something takes shape or something happens, right? When Jesus calms the sea listens. When God calls me to be his own, my heart responds. Lazarus is a dead man. There's no response. There's no heartbeat. There's no self-help, right? He's helpless. He's dead. And then the voice of Christ says, "Come out," and there is life. There's movement. There's the ability to obey, right?
Mhm.
That kind of thing. Let's just get into it. Monergistic resurrection power. Monergistic meaning one.
Yeah.
There is one working in salvation. There is one working in regeneration. God alone is the active cause of our salvation.
Are you saying I didn't help in this?
I think I slowed down here and I
Yeah.
said we just got to make sure we don't misunderstand this
Mhm.
part. Did Lazarus do anything to come back to life?
No, he was dead.
Like, he was dead. Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 2, "You are dead in your trespasses. If you have not placed your faith in Jesus Christ, it's because the gift of faith has not been given to you by God."
Right.
You can go down all kinds of rabbit holes about what ifs from that statement I just made. Does that mean God doesn't save everyone? I'm not gonna answer those right now, right?
Okay.
What about my neighbor? What about my brother? What about my father? That's not fair. What about the guy on the island? We always say that. We always say we always have a bigger heart for the guy on the island than we do our neighbor across the street, right? What about the guy on the island? Never hears Christ. How can God just let him die and go to hell? What about me walking down the aisle? I did that. I prayed this prayer. I did this thing, and now I'm a believer, right?
Yeah.
If we look at Lazarus as a moment of regeneration, right, where something was previously dead, now it's alive, what did Lazarus do? Nothing. He did nothing for it, right? He didn't cooperate in it. He responded because God spoke.
Yeah.
That's it. Ephesians 2:8 and through 10. I kind of walk through this a little bit. For by grace you have been saved through faith. Now, again, before we get it twisted, grace is unmerited favor. You did nothing to earn this grace. It's just been given to you. You've been saved through faith. Aha! It's because of my faith I'm saved.
But
That's
it's
why
by
I'm saved.
grace.
Right? That's why I'm
You were
saved,
given
right?
that faith.
But the very second part of that is, and this is not your own doing, it's a gift of God. The faith that you
Man.
have is the gift of God. And it's by grace. It's not a result of works, so that no one can boast. No one can brag about, like, I'm saved because I did this.
Right.
I'm humbled because I'm saved because God saved me, period. You are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Verse 40. Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would also see the glory of God? And so this miracle of Lazarus being raised from the dead shows a whole lot about Jesus. It also shows a whole lot about salvation, regeneration, but it's also for the glory of God, period. My salvation is because God.
Yeah.
And it's his glory and his glory alone. And then the unbind him and let him go part. There's a whole lot with that we can say with that. But again, it's not self-help so much. It reminds us that this new life, right? So he comes to life and Jesus says, unbind him and let him go. It's the kind of the sanctification process, right? The what follows the resurrection. As I gather with believers, I can take off these old grave clothes, right, and walk new in the life that God's called me to. And so we see a couple things at the tomb, right? The tears of Jesus are fully man. The authority of Jesus is fully God. The defeat of death, the glory of God. It's all one big thing, right? And because he lives, we can live too. Period. Anything else?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I wrote
I
down.
probably skipped a lot, but
Not. I mean, as far as content scripturally, no. I mean, like quotes, maybe, but like I wrote down, the same voice that called Lazarus is the same voice that secures us.
Yeah.
And this is what I wrote down specifically because one, I thought it was good, but it also like, it's easy to remember. I know you and you know me, but we can walk together because of he.
oh yeah, I don't know where that came up with, but
Well, it came out of your mouth.
it rhymed.
And then this was wrapping it up, but the question always has been and always will be, do you believe?
Yeah, that's the question. It's like,
Yeah.
John's writing this gospel, and we see all these miracles as we're reading them. It's not just because like, oh, these are really cool stories about Jesus. No,
Right.
he's writing them specifically, and I think they elevate as they go. Right there, it's the climax is Lazarus' moment, right? Even his resurrection, but it's so that we would believe that he is the Christ, the Son of God, and by believing we
Yeah.
may have life in his name, right? That's the whole thing. And then from this moment though, like it gets crazy. Once they see this, once the Jews see this, they're like,
Oh no.
the whole world is going to about to change. We gotta get rid of this guy, right?
Yeah.
That's not the response you
Well,
do.
don't they seek to kill Lazarus too?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Lazarus is the evidence of who Jesus is, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing that plays out today, right? Satan wants you as a believer to die, to be a failure in front of everybody, right? That's why I think ministry is so hard. Is that the temptation for power, money, even relationships outside of your marriage, right? We see that play out over and over and over again, and it's like, why do all these things happen? Is because ministers are normal people, right?
Yeah.
And they're tempted.
Yeah.
And Satan wants to stop the mission. He wants to
Mhm.
stop the message. He's like, look, if that guy's a sinner, none of this is real, right? It's all a sham, and everybody's a failure. And you have to say to yourself, like, yeah, but Jesus, right?
Isn't it James that says not many of you should wish to become ministers?
Yeah. So
Something along those lines.
the accounting, right? Or teachers. It says teachers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not many should seek to be teachers, because you're going to be doubly judged,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so you have to be careful with your words, right? But I think the failure part, the sin part, that's not the part. I don't think that passage isn't talking about the sin failures of pastors, but it's like the reality of like, your pastor is not perfect, and he's never going to be perfect. He's not supposed to be perfect. Jesus is perfect. Satan is using individuals, fallen individuals who have been saved, and he's going to do everything he can to trip them up so the message would be dulled,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or even be like, oh, this is all a sham, that kind of thing, because my pastor failed, I don't believe anymore, right?
Yeah.
Or because my brother hurt my feelings, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. Like all that. That's not how any of this works, right? And so the deception of Satan is real in reality of aliens and conspiracies, but it's also real in reality when we don't see Jesus for who he is. He's fully God and fully man. And so, do you believe? Right? That's the whole thing for all of this is, do you believe that Jesus is who he says he is? And if you do, what are you doing about it? What does your life
Yeah.
look like because of that? Is it full of like all the right left versus stuff you're posting online, or is it you're posting about Jesus and you want to share the message of that more and more and more?
Mm-hmm.
Reality is shaped by what you chase. I'll say that. If you chase after the things of this world, that's your reality. If you chase after Jesus, that is your reality, and you'll be able to see things of this world in light of what they really are. Right? It's all a deception to get you to take your eyes off of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love God.
Love people.
Make disciples.